Hi, my name's Paul Cresswell. Welcome to Paul's Tackle Reviews. The purpose of this channel is to give you some reviews of tackle that's been out on the bank, tried and tested by an unbiased, unsponsored angler, and that's me. As I say with all of my reviews, just because something works for me doesn't mean it's going to work for you, but I'll try and give you all the information so you can make your own mind up. Today I'm looking at the Guru Aventus 4000 reel. So I've had this a few months now and I've been out testing and using it an awful lot. There was a big fanfare when this was launched, as with an awful lot of Guru stuff. I'm sat here and you might think, why is he sat to one side? Because I'm going to put loads of photos here in detail so that you can see what's going off. I think what I will say about reels is when I go in a shop and I pick a reel up and I kind of turn it round, it's pretty underwhelming. I don't think you can tell very much. You can tell how much it weighs. You can kind of get a sense of how smooth it is, but I'm never blown away. Whenever a new reel turns up, I take it out the box and I'm always a little bit underwhelmed. I don't think you can really tell a reel until you're actually using it and it's in action and you're catching fish. So I'm not putting any action of me using a reel because I don't think it'll add anything, but safe to say I have given this a thorough test over the last few months. I've had lots of reels, I've been fishing a long time, I'm fairly old. I started back in the day, my first proper reel was a Mitchell Match. Cost more than my rod, an amazing piece of kit at the time, absolutely loved it. I've had all sorts since, I've had Shimano's, I've had Stradics, their Stradics, I've had their Aeros, I've had TDRs from Daiwa, I've had a map reel, I've had Shakespeare reels, and I've had cadence reels. So I've tried an awful lot of reels over the years. My current reels, before I bought the Guru, I've got 3 Cadence CS10 3000 reels, and I've got a separate video on my channel if you want to look at those reels. They're on my 3 float rods that I use. So I've got my pellet waggler rod, I've got a lighter short 11-foot rod, and then I've got a 13-foot traditional rod. And on my 3 feeder rods that I tend to have set up most of the time, I've got Preston Magnitude 420 reels on them. So the Cadence is a very small reel, a very light reel, really fast retrieve, 6.2 to 1, and they're about 110 pounds, and they are perfect for the waggler because they're lightweight and fast retrieve, and they are brilliant reels. The Magnitude, I prefer a 4000 reel for feeder fishing. I think you need something a bit bigger, but you do need something a little bit slower. So you're looking for a gear ratio of around 5 to 1, which the Preston has. I did have the 4000 cadence reel, but I just didn't get on with it for feeder fishing. I just think it's a little bit too fast for its own good. And the Preston Magnitude, you can pick them up around £100. So I bought the Guru reel, and these you can pick up now in low 200s, 220, something like that. I think the RRP is something like 275, but they're around that kind of region. And part of the reason for trying it and doing this video is to see what more do you get for your money. Is it worth it taking that next step up from what is already in my view, a really good reel, the Preston Magnitude. So I obviously used the Magnitude, I've used the Guru, I've then gone back to the Magnitude and then gone back to the Guru, so I can really understand what the differences are between them. What I don't want to do is get into the, oh, it's a rebadged Daiwa and all this, that and the other. It might be made by Daiwa or whoever makes their reels, but I'm sure Guru have done it to their own specification and their own materials. It's like, I think there was a thread recently on the forum saying some of the Preston reels look like Ryobi reels. There's only a small number of manufacturers, but I do believe the big brands have their own specs and make sure it's their own reel. So let's get on to the Guru, and then I'll come back to the Magnitude and then do a compare and contrast. So the first thing I will say is it is a thing of beauty. It is a lovely looking reel. But those of you that know me and have watched my other videos will know that that has no bearing on whether I use something. I've got stuff from all different brands, all different colour schemes. It doesn't bother me, but for you tackle tarts out there, and I know there's quite a few of you, it is a beautiful looking reel, and the guy on the next peg will probably be able to see what reel you've got if that's important to you. The other thing when I took it out of the box was I couldn't believe how heavy it was. So this weighs 460 grams, and the weight of the Magnitude, which is, it has a very similar size spool, there's almost nothing in it between them, that weighs 319 grams. So 460, 319. So you've got an awful lot of weight in there to start with. Just for reference, my cadence reel, together with my Acolyte carp waggler rod, together weigh 350 grams. Now, if you're fishing the pellet waggler, I think for an hour you're going to have the rod in your hand for 50 minutes. There's a lot of casting, you're not putting the rod down except when you're rebaiting or when you're unhooking fish. So having a really light setup is really important. When you could be fishing it for several hours, it does make a big difference. So therefore, in my view, this is a feeder reel. And even the smaller 3000 version of this weighs 335 grams, which is only 15 grams under my rod and reel combo for the pellet waggler. So I do personally, it's too heavy for me for being a waggler reel. It's a feeder reel. Let's look at some of the features, and it does have a push button folding handle there that the Magnitude doesn't have, which is quite a nice feature, and you'd expect that on a top end, top price kind of reel. It has a front drag, and I'll say more later, but the drag is excellent on this reel. You do get a spare spool, again a thing of beauty, but what I will say is it's not a push button spool. Now the Magnitude isn't, but it's £100 reel. This is a £200 plus reel, and I did expect it to have a push button spool. I hadn't really looked in detail before I bought it, but I just thought it would come with that, and it was quite a surprise. It comes with a single handle, which is my preference. I don't know whether you can get doubles. I don't like double handle. I have tried them for a bit. The distance there is never as big when you get a double handle. So when you've got a single one, you do get more cranking power, and I just find it more comfortable. I know people who like double handled reels. It's a 4.9 to 1 retrieve, which is around that 5 to 1, perfect for feeder fishing, not too fast to get line twist, and works really well. It also has a sliding line clip, and I'll put a little photo up there, so it does move up and down, which I think is kinder to your line. The Magnitude doesn't have that, but the Magnitude does have 2 line clips. Now, I've never snapped my line on the line clip on the Magnitude, and I never thought I'd use 2 line clips, but the other week I was on the canal and I was fishing the far side. It needed a rest, and I just went down the middle on another clip and then took it off and went back to the far side. So I kind of think top end reels should maybe have 2 line clips on now, just for that occasional situation where it's a real advantage. So I want to talk about the line lay on the Guru. Now, when I get a new reel, I fill it in reverse. So I get the spare spool, put that on. I then put 150 meters of 8-pound, in this case, Horizon on. I then put a thicker, cheaper line as backup until it sat perfectly on there. I then take that off, put the now empty one on, reattach it and wind it all through, so I end up with my backing first and the line I want on top. So when I got this out the box, I did that. I put my 150 and my backing line on, and the line lay was very poor. It was all towards the bottom of the spool. I've got a photo there. And so it needed some adjustment, and I don't know whether people know this, but there's always a couple of washers. So they provided 2 washers spare, and there was 2 washers inside this. Now, I will say this is a fiddly job. I'm an experienced angler, and I thought it was a fiddly job, and there was no instructions how to take these washers out, and I do think manufacturers should do that. But I took the 2 washers out before I transferred the line in reverse, and I've put it on here, and I would describe the line lay as very, very good. I wouldn't say it was perfect, and it's just slightly bottomy and a little lighter at the top, but I've had no problems in use. In use with this reel, the first thing I noticed was the weight, and actually on my Supera feeder rod I really liked the weight. I felt it balanced things really great. When you're fishing the feeder, you might only have the rod in your hand for 20 minutes in any hour compared to fishing the pellet waggler, and I really enjoyed it, and I was quite surprised. I really enjoyed the weight, and it felt better, and I guess I could have bought the bigger size Magnitude to get more weight, but I've never really been a big one who's had heavy reels before, but that's given me something to think about. I did enjoy that. I think compared the clutch on this is probably as good a clutch as I've ever used. I think it was excellent. It was easy to adjust. It gave line. I was doing some margin fishing with the method where you get some savage takes, and the clutch on this is the real highlight of the reel for me. I think it's probably the best I've ever used. I did like the line clip, and I thought it had real good cranking power. It felt like you could kind of wind and then pull, and it just felt great in the hand using it. So I'm now going to compare it to the Magnitude, and so we've got a £100 reel, we've got a £220 reel, and I'm going to say what do you get? What are you getting more for your money? And I think the main thing is the clutch on this is slightly better than the Magnitude. What I will say is the Magnitude clutch is brilliant, and I absolutely love these rails. I wouldn't have 3 of them otherwise. So we are talking a microscopic amount, and I don't really think in practice it makes that much difference, to be honest. The line lay on the Magnitude, out the box, put the line on, was perfect, and it is perfect line lay, which I really liked. Like I say, I like the weight of that, but then I could have bought a bigger one of those. The 2 spools on these reels are very close in terms of size and dimensions. The Guru is probably 1-2 millimeters wider, so there's nothing in it really in those. When I said I like the line clip, I do think it's a good feature to have 2 line clips. For that occasional, maybe once, twice a year, but it really is an advantage having that. They're both really well made reels, and I'll put a photo of them both up, and you can see the size difference. The Guru is bigger, there's more metal involved, it is a bigger reel, and it weighs more as such, but it does feel like it will last longer than the Magnitude. That isn't scientific. I can't say that until 3 years' time and they're both going strong or whatever. But you just feel you're getting something that's really built to last. But I think the Preston is a fantastic reel and will last a really long time as well. I don't have any worries about either of them. You just think there's more metal there. It's just a feeling. So, is it worth spending $220 on that or £100 on that? That is the key question. And I've finally concluded, and I've thought about this long and hard, that realistically you're not getting enough for the extra spend. You're basically getting a slightly better clutch and something that feels more robust but might not necessarily be more robust. So if you had money in your pocket, a couple £100, you could buy one of those, you could buy 2 of those, you could buy 1 of those and an N-gauge feeder rod, excellent rods, or an Ascension rod from Preston, or you could buy a couple of top kits, or you could buy a top end landing net handle. And if you're using a rubbish landing net handle, I can guarantee buying that and a landing net handle will put more fish in the net than buying that. So, final conclusion, I don't think it's worth it. If money was no object and I was buying all my gear from scratch, would I buy the Guru? I don't know. I think there's other top end reels that I might have a look at instead. I don't know if that's controversial because nobody else has done an independent review of the Guru as far as I can see it. So if you've got one and you love it or don't love it, or you think it was good value, then put it in the comments. Will I keep it? Not sure, because I just spotted this week and that Shimano have brought out a new match reel, the Aero XR. It does have anti-reverse, which isn't really an issue for me because I do play fish on the clutch, and that's around £130. So I could, for you good subscribers out there, I could sell that and maybe get the Shimano and do a review of that, which will give me another video to do as well. So I'll have a think about whether I'm keeping it, but I do like it. I just think it's not worth the extra. That's it for today. Thanks very much for watching. If you want to subscribe, you'll join over 1,300 other people. There's 40 to 50 videos on my YouTube channel if you want to have a look at. I'll be back soon with another one. Until then, tight lines.